But the next one we are going to have someone who is going to explain some aspect of botulinum toxin, and that will be expressed in terms of dance, so that you will have a little bit better help. Ready? And it's going, okay. Some of you saw that last year. It is Indian is also doing some interns with me. In my another life that I have here is called Center for Indian Studies. I am director of that also. So she is with me in that, and so we have borrowed her from that center to help us. So it will be Anuradha and Pavitra.
Good evening, everybody. As Dr. Singh explained, I will be doing the South Indian classical dance form, that is Bharatnatyam. I just wanted to tell you briefly what Bharatnatyam is. Bharatnatyam is a combination of Bhava, Raga, Tala, which comes from these three root words. Bhava, which means expression, Raga, that is song, and Tala, that is rhythm. And as you all have seen like Bharatnatyam doing for various dances, now you'll be seeing Bharatnatyam in a versatile form for a speech or a seminar, because Bharatnatyam itself is a language. It's not just a dance, but it's a language. And my friend would be explaining about Botulinum. Hello everyone. So there are a few words that commonly reoccur throughout this presentation. So we'll just go through those generalized terms so you can recognize them throughout the presentation. The first one being botulinum or botulism, which Anuradha will be personifying as herself. The next one is Justinus Kerner, who is a medical officer. She shows medical by going through every single body part, because someone who practices medicine kind of takes care of the ailments throughout our body, and as an officer, he is the head of that, so that is shown like that. The next word is sausage, which comes a lot as well, which comes from the pig, so she shows it like that. The next word is biology or biologist, which is something that comes from within. It is, creation, so it is expressed as something coming from within. And the last one being the United States, which is sort of this, conglomeration of a lot of nationalities, and it's also a supreme power in the world. So that is shown as something kingly and supreme. With this, we will start our presentation, the history of botulinum. We have a background music that goes along with the entire presentation, so technical difficulties. So, it's a beautiful day today. Stalling. Through centuries, botulinum toxin poisoning has affected mankind. Botulism has mostly occurred as a result of consuming improperly preserved food. However, in ancient times, the connection between food consumption and subsequent death from a paralytic diseases in cases of botulism was not generally recognized. Therefore, we have only few historical sources and documents on various causes of food poisoning prior to the 18th century. It was not until the late 18th century that the first incident of food-borne botulism was documented, when the consumption of meat sausages gave rise to numerous deaths throughout the kingdom of Württemberg in southwestern Germany. The medical officer at that time, Justinus Kerner, who was also a well-known German poet, published the first accurate and complete description of the symptoms of foodborne botulism and attributed the intoxication to a biological poison. Kerner's hypotheses concerning sausage poison were that 1. The toxin develops in bad sausages under anaerobic conditions. 2. That the toxin acts on the motor nerves and the autonomic nervous system. And that 3. The toxin is strong and lethal even in small doses. Kerner also speculated about using the toxin for therapeutic purposes. He concluded that small doses would be beneficial in conditions with pathological hyperexcitability and motor hyperkinesis and glandular hypersecretion. Following his publications on foodborne botulism, Kerner was nicknamed Sausage Kerner, and sausage poisoning was known as Kerner's disease. The famous German poet Heinrich Heine, who used to mock the German Romantic poets, characterized Justinus Kerner as the poet who has visions of poisoned blood sausages. The term botulism, from the Latin word botulus, meaning sausage, introduced in the second half of the 19th century, refers to the poisoning due to sausages, and not to the sausage-like shape of the causative bacillus discovered later. Kerner was the first to discover the toxin, yet the bacterium was yet to be found. The discovery of Bacillus botulinus. In 1895, in a small Belgian village of Alsace, 34 people ate pickled and smoked ham at a funeral meal in the restaurant Little C. 3 musicians who played at the funeral died, and 10 became very ill, displaying symptoms such as dyspnea, dysphagia, and progressive muscle paralysis. The microbiologist Emile Pierre, who had worked in the laboratory of Robert Koch, conducted the medical investigation. Pierre was the first to correlate sausage poisoning with an anaerobic microorganism that he found in the ham eaten at the funeral meal and in the tissue of the victims. He concluded that it is highly probable that the poison in the ham was produced by an anaerobic growth of specific microorganisms during the salting process. Pierre isolated the bacterium in the ham and in the corpses of the victims, and he grew it. He used it for animal experiments, described its toxin, and called it Bacillus botulinus. However, it was later renamed as Clostridium botulinum. Progress in botulinum toxin research. In 1904, when an outbreak of botulism in Germany was caused by canned white beans, the opinion that the only botulinogenic foods were meat or fish had to be revised. Over the next decades, increases in food canning and foodborne botulism went hand in hand. Techniques for killing the spores during the canning process were subsequently developed. In the last 2 decades, 1990 onwards, the molecular mechanism of botulinum neurotoxin was discovered through the work of various groups of scientists. Development of modern botulinum toxin therapy. Alan Scott, an ophthalmological surgeon in San Francisco, was seeking alternatives to strabismus surgery and was used to the techniques of accurately injecting substances into the ocular muscles. Scott injected various anesthetics, alcohol, enzymes, enzyme blockers, and snake neurotoxins into the ocular muscles of monkeys. Interestingly, he also injected the botulinum toxin, and he observed a remarkable effect. Scott recalled an injection of a few picograms would induce paralysis confined to the target muscles, long in duration, and with no side effects whatsoever. Human experimentation began first in healthy volunteers and strabismus or cross-eyed patients in 1977. Successful studies on the therapeutic value of botulinum toxin led to the first approval of the toxin by the United States Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA. The use of type A toxin was extended to other forms of focal dystonia and to other forms of contractions of smooth and skeletal muscles, as well as to conditions of glandular hypersecretion and pain. The clinical use of the botulinum toxin has been extended to treat over 100 neuromuscular disorders and is now also widely used in cosmetics to remove wrinkles, frown lines, and crow's feet. Such was the complex journey of botulinum from neurotoxin to neuromedicine. Thank you.